All right, let's talk about something that feels like pure magic, but is actually all science, attraction. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty of the ancient programming that guides how a woman's brain zeroes in on a crush. It's a pretty wild process, so let's just dive right in.
You've been there, right? It could be anyone, a friend, that guy from the coffee shop, and suddenly, bam, they've set up camp in your head and you just can't get them out. You're replaying every little conversation, constantly checking your phone. It feels like a total mystery.
Well, here's the thing. It's not random, and it's definitely not magic. What's really happening is your brain is running this incredibly powerful ancient software that's been tweaked over thousands and thousands of years for one huge job: finding a partner.
So let's pull back the curtain on this mystery, shall we? We're going to decode all those biological and psychological signals that can turn just a normal person into, well, a full-blown crush.
It really all starts with three core systems that are always working in the background. You can think of them like three different apps, all running at the same time inside your brain, and each one has a very specific mission.
Okay, so first up is lust. This is driven by hormones like estrogen, and it's basically the search signal. It just kind of tunes your brain to start noticing potential partners out there. Then attraction kicks in, fueled by stuff like dopamine. This is what creates that laser focus, the butterflies and the daydreams. And finally, you've got attachment, which is powered by oxytocin. That's the bonding hormone that builds those feelings of safety and trust.
But here's where it gets super interesting. These three systems, they can all operate independently. I mean, you could feel that lust for one person, that intense, crushy attraction for a completely different person, and a deep sense of attachment to someone else entirely. It's not you being confused, it's your brain being an incredible multitasker.
Okay, so it's not just biology and hormones. Beyond those big systems, your brain is also using some really fascinating subconscious shortcuts to figure out who's actually worth your time and attention.
Get this, there's something called the mere exposure effect. It basically means the more you see someone, the more attractive they can become. That's why you might suddenly develop a thing for a coworker you see every single day. Your brain is also wired to be drawn to emotional patterns that feel familiar from your past. And all the while, it's running this background check. Psychologists call it the matching hypothesis to see if someone is really on your level.
So, what happens when all these systems finally line up and you actually start to fall for someone? Well, your brain gets flooded with chemicals. And it's not like a gentle little rain. It's more like a full-on chemical storm.
First up is dopamine. This is the reward chemical. Every text message, every shared laugh, any little bit of attention from him, bam! It triggers a dopamine hit. That's why it feels so good, and honestly, so addictive. You're literally getting hooked on the high he gives you.
Then there's norepinephrine. This is the stuff that kicks your whole body into high alert. The racing heart, the sweaty palms, that fluttery feeling in your stomach. Yep, that's this guy's fault. Your brain is basically yelling, "Pay attention, this person matters."
And here's the plot twist. While all those other chemicals are going way up, your serotonin levels actually drop. And that drop is what triggers those obsessive looping thoughts. It's just biology's clever way of making sure you don't get distracted, keeping your focus locked on this one person. So you put all those chemical changes together, and what do you get? That classic crush experience. It's an intense, emotional roller coaster of excitement, anxiety, and just this irresistible pull toward that one person.
But attraction isn't always this huge lightning strike, right? There are actually two really different ways it can happen, and understanding them tells you a lot about relationships. So on one hand, you have the spark. You could call it the X factor. It's that immediate electric connection that just makes no logical sense. And then, on the other hand, you've got the slow burn, where the attraction builds up slowly, over time, through friendship and shared experiences.
And here's a really important thought. While those sparks are incredibly exciting, it's so often the slow burn crushes that end up becoming the most stable, lasting relationships. Why? Because they're built on that third brain system, attachment, and fueled by that bonding hormone, creating a real foundation, not just initial chemistry.
So we've gone through the hormones, the psychology, the brain chemistry, but what does it all mean for you? This is really where the science part stops and your story begins.
I love this idea. Biology can spark desire, but choice builds love. It really gets to the core of it, right? All that ancient programming can create the initial feeling, that powerful, can't help it pull. But turning that into actual love, that takes a conscious choice.
Your brain is going to give you the butterflies. It'll give you the obsessive thoughts and the chemical high.
It basically presents you with a candidate. But the real stuff, the connection, the trust, the partnership, that's built by the choices you make every single day.
So, the next time you feel that pull, just remember all the incredible machinery working behind the scenes. Your brain is handing you a little spark of potential. The real question is, what story are you going to choose to build with it?